are back. Yay. So hello and welcome to domytriesthis. I hope you brought your cuppa. Today's coffee mug is the very first coffee mug. I should say, today's coffee mug, not the very first. I'm thinking very first because of what it's related to. I purchased this coffee mug for myself the first time I published a short story. I got paid for it, not just a freebie thing. And it wasn't a pro publication, but I was so proud. And the sad thing is, I can't even remember the name of it right now. I have a frame thing with a picture of the money that I got and the acceptance letter, but it's not been up just because of house issues. Some of you know our house issues. But when I got the actual money, I did end up going out and picking this mug up. I actually contacted the guy that does these illustrations, and he had an Etsy shop, and I asked him if he could do this for me, and he did. And it says The Writer at Work, www.thewriteratwork.com on the front, and on the back it says finally got published, and all I got was this coffee mug. I thought it was perfect because I actually, like I said, it wasn't a pro publication. I don't mind. It actually got noticed by somebody who has been in the pro sphere, and it gave me a real boost. I am finally back to writing again, thankfully. Not what we're on about, but that's the story of the coffee mug. In the coffee mug is our Stash Organics Organic Gold Cup Chai. This is the last tea that I'm supposed to be trying from the February Sips by box. But I think I've mentioned I'm a Stash fan. If you look earlier in my videos, way earlier, forgive the quality. If you look earlier in my videos, I do drink a lot of Stash, and they are a favorite brand, and I've mentioned this as being one of the teas of theirs that I really enjoy. Hasn't been steeping long. They usually aren't for these videos, but we're going to go ahead and give it a sip, and we will get started. I'm stumbling all over the place today. Love it. You can smell the spices. This has, let's see, what do you say you have? Let's do that real quick. This has cinnamon, ginger root, turmeric, orange peel, cardamom seed, and clove. No flavorings. I like it when they don't have flavorings. But anyway, go ahead, give it a sip, like I said, and we will get started. Taste is very mild right now. The spices haven't even really kicked in all that hard. And a bit of the turmeric, but you're not getting the spicier ginger and all of that in there yet. I did double bag it because, as I mentioned before, I like a strong tea, and with the Stash teas, I do need to double bag. Alrighty, so today we are doing another dragon bite. I have actually been trying to get to these once a month. Not sure why February went floop, but this will hopefully be towards the end of February, so I'll make it in there. If not, it'll be the beginning of March or something like that. So it'll be in there hopefully very closely too. And today's topic is brands I would love PR from. Now, when I first started doing my YouTube channel, I would have taken PR from anybody, because let me tell you, keeping on top of stuff, on the top of beauty trends, and doing a beauty YouTube channel is expensive. I don't think, even between the, I think it was a year or two before I started my YouTube channel, when I got back into makeup, I wasn't buying that much. But because of the channel, because the brands tend to release a lot, some a lot more than others, my expenditures went way up. Way up. Seriously, way up. And I have considered shutting down the channel because it is so expensive to do a beauty channel. It's horrendously expensive to do a beauty channel. So when I first started, I would have enjoyed PR from anybody. just about anybody. There's a few brands now that I realize probably not. not. But at any rate, unfortunately, when you're a tiny micro channel like I am, you don't usually get on anybody's radar. I did luck out and I did email, as I forget another name, terrible with names today. Hold, please. So as I was saying, when I started out, I did luck out. I started emailing some brands. Most of them ignored me. But I did luck out, and one of the brands, Profusion, did send me a little box that included this palette. As we all know, these colors are extremely neutral for me now. But, and at the time, I didn't even know that. I didn't even realize that I needed to be careful with my browns and my neutrals because my skin ate them alive, or my pastels because my skin likes those for snack. So this was the only PR, this is up to date, the only PR brand that I've received because I'm a micro. I am like the tiniest in micro. I got under 1,000 followers, so subscribers. So it is really hard for tiny channels like mine to get any PR. That said, we can dream. And I thought about if I was getting PR, who would I want PR from? Everything on my face, with a couple exceptions, just a few, is a brand that I would like to have PR from. If you would like to create this look and see how it was done and find out what those brands are, keep on watching. So one of the first brands that I would love PR from is Karity. This is their frosted, highly pigmented shimmer shadows palette. Many of you know that when I got my first Karity, it was a very pastel. It was like their unicorn palette or something. And it didn't work out so well. So I was hesitant to play around with any more Karity shadows, just based on that one palette. And then for some reason, I wanted to go ahead and grab their smoky palette, and that blew me away. I liked that palette. So from that, I started picking up other palettes. I picked up some of their liquid lipsticks, which are also very nice. I've picked up their blush, which you will see later. Enjoy their blushes. All around, they've been a very good, very reliable brand. The pastel palette, honestly, is no surprise. I have tough problems with pastels in general anyway. So when I learned that later, it just, you know, I've been looking at the smoky and honestly this frosted palette for a while. So since I now knew that neither one of those, that the pastel palette was not necessarily the palette's problem, but the fact that my skin likes to eat pastels for snack, I went ahead and retried it, and I've really enjoyed it, and I have bought 3 or 4 more palettes since that smoky palette, including this one, and including their sienna one, their Picante, which is very, very pretty as well. And I have enjoyed them all. Now, they do not stand up to my eyes as well as some, but they are very repairable, which makes it just fine. So I really enjoy them and wouldn't mind PR from them at all. Not at all. Not even remotely. The next one wouldn't surprise you all, and that is the Violet Voss. This is their See You Later palette, but I have their hashtag palette. I have the Flamingo palette. I have a couple of others. I have their Bright Vibes. I have the Sweet Cherry Lemonade. Quite a few. I have a lot of their palettes. I haven't tried any of their other products. I'm not into lashes. I haven't tried any of their lipsticks or anything like that. But just based on the palettes alone, which I love, I really wouldn't mind being on their PR list. And their shadows have the distinction of being one of the few that stand up to my eyes very, very well. And even when they don't, on these inner corners where I have all my issues, even when they don't, they repair very, very easily. They have very good magnets, so if I choose to take one with me for repairing and all that stuff. I'm not too worried about it popping open in my purse. Smaller palettes fit easily. Now, I will say that a lot of the mini palettes I feel do not have the same formula as the Pro palettes. So honestly, I would go more for the Pro palettes and then things like the Flamingo and like the See You Later before I would get a mini palette, to be honest. All of that said, I have found that the shimmers do apply better either with your finger or with one of these brushes. You get a more shine if you use a little bit of setting spray on them. But overall, Violet Voss, it was my first favorite. It has remained a favorite. I've had one or two disappointments. I just love Violet Voss. I really, really do. One of these days, I will have to try some of their other things. Another brand I wouldn't mind getting PR from is Alamar. I was introduced to Alamar from BoxyCharm. I actually got this palette, which is their Reina del Caribe Volume 1. I have Volume 2, and I have their Spanglish palette. But I ended up, because of this palette, picking up their blush and bronzer trios, face palettes, and I ended up enjoying those quite a bit. Wasn't quite as impressed with their lip gloss. It was kind of sticky. They didn't have many colors that I was interested in, but I have really enjoyed these particular palettes. I think they're an amazing company, and I really wouldn't mind more from them. I also picked up I guess it was in another BoxyCharm we ended up getting, or was it in Ipsy Plus? I don't know, but I ended up getting some of their other brushes, the second set of their brushes. I love their little brushes. They're really nice. And so yeah, this is another one that I wouldn't mind having PR from. They're a really nice brand, and they're Latina owned, so they definitely go with the aesthetic that I'm doing this year, where I want to support brands by people of color. And our last eyeshadow palette brand that I would love to get PR from is Melt Cosmetics. This is their Radioactive palette. I also have the Muerte and Vida, I have the She's and Parties, and I have their most recent one. It was the can't remember now, but it's brand new. It's still up on the site. They have a beautiful set for it. They have gel liners for it, and these guys, their pigmentation is just absolutely amazing. And I just recently tried their gel liner. I'm impressed with the gel liner. It's smooth and creamy and pigmented, and just pretty much what I've been looking for in terms of you know, an eyeliner that's easy for me to apply the way I like to apply my eyeliner. And haven't tried any of their lipsticks yet, I don't think. I don't recall. I don't think. No, not yet. The only thing with them for me is the cost. They're beautiful. I love them. I think they're worth every penny. It just makes it very hard to be able to afford them. I really wanted the Beetlejuice, and I ended up having to pass on that. And now I think the palette that I actually want from that set is sold out, as are the gel liners that went with it. And there was one of the gel liners in that set that I really wanted to try once I tried the newest, the dark blues that we have right now. But a lot of times that stuff, they with their limited editions, what's really nice is they will sell out once or twice, and they will keep restocking them for a while. And I think they wait for the interest to wane for them to actually stop restocking. I'm not sure about that, but I have found that most of their palettes and things, even if they're limited edition, are fairly easy to get a hold of. And at least, you know, I got the Muerte and Vitas very, very late, and I was still able to purchase them. They were at that point where I think most companies would have already discontinued them. So those are the the eyeshadow stuff. I do have a couple of others that we'll be looking at in just a minute after we blend this out a bit. All right, so we brushed everything away and we've concealed, and now we are on to our next brand that I wouldn't mind PR from, and that would be Oma Beauty. I have 2 of their foundations right now. Their foundation is amazing. Honestly, I do wear primer underneath it, but it is not necessary. I find that when I don't use primer, my skin ends up feeling, when I remove it, my skin ends up feeling very soft, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful foundation. This is my second color. I found that their customer service was really, really amazingly helpful. They were very friendly when I called in, because my first foundation that I got from them was great for, you know, spring or fall, when I'm transitioning from my darkest to my lightest, or my lightest to my darkest. It was great for that time. It also worked for summer, for like last summer, because I didn't go out, I didn't walk. Just so much going on that I ended up staying home more often than not. And towards the end of last summer, I ended up injuring a knee. But under normal circumstances, I would have gone out walking and I would have gotten darker. Pardon. So by the end of the summer, I would have needed another foundation anyway. I would have needed something a bit darker. But because I hadn't been doing that, the first color I got worked basically from mid-spring through to almost the end of winter. But towards the end of winter, I noticed it was getting too dark for my skin, because, you know, I'm one of those people that tans. And so my skin color actually changes quite a bit in the summer when I'm out and about doing things. And you can see the coverage is just gorgeous. I love this foundation. Anyway, so I called them and I said, I need to know, this is the one I'm using now, and I'm in this family because they do their foundations a little differently. And I need to know which would be the next shade up, lightest. I need to go lighter. And she looked at it and she told me exactly what I needed, and she was right. It fits me perfectly. I have since buying the foundation, my original foundation, not this one. This one is fairly new because I just finally got in there and said, okay, we got to take care of this. The other foundation is too dark. Let's take care of it. Pressing it in reduces some of the crinklies because I'm getting older. But I've since then tried a palette that I purchased. The jury's still out on that. I've only tried it once, and I'm going to need to play around with it. Not because it's a bad palette, but some palettes, you just need to work with them differently than you work with other ones. They require a different kind of brush, or they need to use the applicators. I don't use my fingers, most of you know. So I'm still playing around with it. I can't really give you much of an opinion on it yet until I've played around with it a bit. It's probably going to go into my stash for the month of March so I can play around with it a bit. But then I also got a mascara in my Ipsy bag, and I love it. It's a really nice mascara. I think the only thing with it that's just weird to me is that it is highly scented. But because of the foundation and the mascara, at the very least, I would love to be on Oma's PR list. I really, really would. All right, so we are getting down there. Going to do a little bit more setting of the face. I've got to do my concealer stuff, and then we'll come back because I've got 2 more brands to talk about, at least that I want on my PR list, and 2 brands that I'm sure a couple of you are going to be wondering why it's missing. All right, so everything is set and ready to go, and that brings me to the next brand that I wouldn't mind having PR from, and that is YC Collection. I got introduced to YC Collection in my Ipsy bag, and I got introduced to it with a setting powder, which has become my favorite powder. I'm working my way through another powder right now, or I would have shown me setting my face with that powder. But as a result of that powder, I bought a full size of that powder. And when I bought a full size of that powder, I also bought the Shanghai Palette. And I think that was it at the time. But since then, I have picked up a bronzer and a contour. And this brow pomade. I really like this. This is smooth and creamy, and it goes very well with my coloring. It's, you know, it's not too dark. It's not black, but it's not like a light, rusty, reddish color either. It works very well with my coloring. It is very creamy and applies very, very well. Just how many varies can we use? So I have really enjoyed pretty much everything that I have tried. Now, there is one thing I haven't tried and probably won't try from them, and that is their blush. Their blush is a cream blush. I think it's a stick blush or something like that. I am not into creamy blushes. I don't like putting creams on my face. For some reason, I don't even use cream eyeshadow all that much. There's a couple of them I've tried. Just don't like those for some reason. So that is one thing I probably will never try is their blush right now. I'm kind of hoping that they will come up with a powder one at some point. I did pick up their highlighter as well. We're not going to be using that today. We're going to be using something else for another brand. And so, yeah, I really, really enjoy them for that. Everything I've tried of theirs, I've really enjoyed. And I wouldn't mind being on their PR list. We're going to go back to another one as soon as I find the brushes for it. So we're going back to Melt. I'm going to use the Steel Reflect Gel Liner that came with the set of the purple stack that I have, that they've turned into a palette that I enjoy so much. This one, I have found that it can be a little finicky for me in terms of color. I think it's just because of the, like right now I've got blue on here, so it may not show up as well, but I really enjoy using these. And this is also very smooth, very creamy. Applies very easily for the most part. And it sounds like my neighbor is home. For you and those of you in the know, you know that means he might get loud. Let's hope not. This has a nice reflect on it. It really, really does. So I'm going to finish this out and I will be back. I will be also applying my Oma mascara. But we will be back in a bit with more. There's one more brand. One more brand. Just wait for it. Alrighty, so there is the Uoma. I butcher it every time, but there is that on. So, more YC collection. This is the bronzer. This is Caramelo. I have been using this one a lot. I did pick up the actual contour powder. However, look at that. Nice color. I think the contour is more of a summer color for me. It's much darker than this one. My only complaint about these from the YC collection is that they only have one color of each. And I really think that they need to do some lighter colors for our light-skinned sisters and some darker colors for the dark-skinned sisters. These are nice down the middle colors for beigey sisters like me. Really beigey sisters. But yeah, I think that's my only complaint about their bronzer neighbor's home. Bronzer and as I completely blank out on the other one, contour colors. The contour color is darker, but again, it would be something for someone who's just a bit darker than I am, whereas I think this one is too light for some light-skinned colors. I mean, too dark for some light-skinned colors, skin tones, and the contour is too light for some of our darker-skinned sisters. It wouldn't work for Too Much Mouth, for example, I don't think. It is just, it's too light. You wouldn't see it on her skin. So, yeah, I think that's my one complaint about them right now. Their foundation, which is another one that I enjoy, has plenty of shades in it. So they just need to introduce more colors of their bronzer and their contour. So there, we got that all done. That in there. All right, and then we have another Karity, which I discussed earlier. This is a blush balm. As you remember, if you've been on the channel for a while, you know that I got the blush balm in that pink. This one is in Burgundy Blast, which is much better. The thing is that I would warn you about is you do have to be careful. These are highly, highly pigmented, and if you're not careful, you will come off looking like a clown. So just start light and move from there. And I might add just a bit of the darker color. It also comes with a highlighter in Lush on this one. The other one did too. Just doing a slightly darker on the bottom edge. Like that. And then let's hit both cheeks just a little bit. But I am going very, very light. I'm only tapping in once to pick up the color, because seriously, this is some frightening color. It really is. It takes over if you're not careful. We are looking, it's looking dark in the camera. Not so dark in my mirror, so I'm going to say it's fine. Hopefully it's fine. Hopefully I don't look too whacked out. Alrighty, so the last brand I wouldn't mind getting PR from is Estate Cosmetics. I've enjoyed their shadows. I've enjoyed these highlighters of theirs. I've got a couple of lip things. I do have one of the things I'm going to use today is a liquid highlighter. Most of you know I don't use liquids on my face. Creams and liquids, I've mentioned that already. It's beautiful. I love the two palettes I have. I enjoyed their surprise mystery box thing that they had out. I did have one complaint about it, and they made up for that complaint. And like I said, I really enjoy the palettes that I've received. We are shined. That's very nice. So, and I do think I said on my review that I said I had to pack up. I'm being disappointed in what was in the box, because what was in the box was very, very good. I really enjoyed all of it. We're going to use this other one. These are the Domys. This one is in the color Lit. It is one of my favorites. I have 3 of their highlighters. This one is in the color Pearl. I don't know if I've ever tried to use this on my inner corner, but we are going to try now. Like this. And these are generally buildable highlighters, which is really nice. And they're affordable. Went slightly out of the picture there. They're affordable. They're really, really, really nice. So that's the last brand that I would really, really like PR from. That I have tried a number of things. Putting everything in my basket. So I do have a runner-up. And the biggest thing with this one is the only thing I've ever tried from it is their liquid lipsticks. So the one that is my runner-up is Makeup Review. Makeup Review. It's one word. And these are the most comfortable matte lipsticks I have ever tried. Yeah, highly impressed with them. Putting these on now is going to make it interesting taking down my hair, but as you can see, they're very highly pigmented. They dry down so comfortable. These are one of the few that I do not need to put a gloss on if I don't want to. I'm using 2 colors. This would be like a runner-up just based on the lipsticks alone. I haven't tried anything else from their brand. I want to, based on the lipsticks alone. I do highly recommend these lipsticks. All right, so I'm going to finish all this up, get the hair down, do all that stuff, and we will be right back to finish this all up. Alrighty, so this is our final look. Take off the glasses, let you guys take a look. Right there, lots of greens, a little bit of blues. Could be wearing some blue later. If I'm falling apart. Don't seem to be doing it as badly this time around. You can still see the gel liner. One thing is really nice, it's about that melt gel liner, is I've noticed it stays. It just stays. It doesn't vanish. Even under my eyes, it stays. It's really good. One of the other touch-ups that I did, other than reapplying a little bit more of that light green on the inner corners, because, you know, my inner corners right here, is I took this Estate liquid illuminator and I put that over the lipstick, and then I lined with an Illamasqua just to get some straight defined lines around my lips. I really like what this did to the lipstick, honestly. It made it very, very pretty. So anyway, I am sure that a few people who have been on the channel enough have noticed at least 1, possibly 2 brands missing from my list. So let's talk about those brands. I'm going to talk about one that's on the edge first, and then I will talk about the one that I'm not that hot and bothered about getting PR from. So one of the brands that I actually considered putting on my list is Nomad. As you all know, I started buying more Nomad palettes of recent, and that probably would have stayed, but then the Shanghai palette came out. Now, this palette is gorgeous. It is absolutely beautiful. I do intend to use it. The money is spent. Trying not to blind you, and it is upside down. But the money is spent. The colors are gorgeous. I do intend to use it. It can't be returned. It's, you know, whatever. However, when they made this palette, this is the Shanghai Yin Yang, and they included some things in here that showed a lack of understanding of the culture, including the colors. I do believe they have a... Well, they don't. Yeah, they do. Including the colors, they've named a couple colors Yin and Yang, and they have snake and dragon on here, and a few other things, bund, just a few other things in here that showed a real lack of understanding of the culture. There is a very, very, very fine line between cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation. And the Chinese and the American Chinese community accused them of cultural appropriation in this one. Basically, taking a whole bunch of concepts from the culture and using them for this palette to sell palettes. That was their thing. And I can understand that particular stance. I actually have a theory about it, and if you're Chinese American, you can tell me whether or not I'm wrong. There are a number of Chinese that said that this did not reflect Shanghai at all. There are others who thought it did, some who thought the color story didn't work, others who did. Color stories, I think, are not as big a problem as some of the other things in the palette. And I think where this palette crossed the line was bringing in spiritual, religious concepts that are integral to that culture. So I can't even think of something off the top of my head that would be similar in another culture. Unfortunately, I think I'm still learning my Puerto Rican culture, so I can't even say anything from that culture that if they put it in this palette in some way, that would be cultural appropriation versus appreciation. And initially, I guess there was some resistance. The owners of Nomad are white, and Nomad is based on being a nomad, a wanderer. So the palettes that they make are based on travels they had. But visiting a city, visiting a country, does not give you the depth of their culture. So including yin yang, and then having dragon and snake and a bund and a few other things as part of the palette color names really offended some of the Chinese people. And my understanding is that initially they kind of ignored that, and then they got really called out. Somebody actually started messaging them. I think others started messaging them, and they finally, it only took 3 days. I honestly think that when they got hit with this, they probably had to process it and then try to figure out where they were going to go from there. But apparently, at least initially, they tried to defend themselves, and that is problematic. So they have since taken the palette off the market, which is one of the reasons why I didn't use it today. And one of the reasons why Nomad is not on my list is the cultural appreciation. I am going to be watching future Nomad releases. The idea, my daughter and I talked about it, and we're going to be watching future releases. They have sworn to do better. They have promised to try to pay attention to those other, the spiritual and other aspects that are part of a culture, and to try to stick with things like the food and the architecture and things of that nature. So my daughter and I talked about it, and we agreed that what we're going to do is we're going to watch their future purchases for a little while and not buy until we see how people of that culture are responding to it. So that is Nomad. Like I said, I would have put them on there, but this palette came out just before doing this video, and just didn't feel comfortable not knowing how they are going to be doing these palettes in the future. So that is the first of the two brands that I'm sure people are surprised wasn't in here. The other one is Hip Dot. Y'all know I love Hip Dot. This is the Opulence palette. It is a beautiful palette. My first palette from them was the C Note, which is blues and greens. It is gorgeous. I have at least 5 or 6 of these larger palettes. They're very innovative in the having the this backing so you can hold it up while you're using it. All of that. It's a beautiful brand overall. However, recently I've started noticing problems with the releases. First of all, they're becoming like ColourPop. For a while there, they were just, it was one thing after another. I actually have stopped following the brand precisely because it really felt like, I don't follow ColourPop on Instagram. I just, I watch beauty news. If something comes up, yay, I pay attention to it. I look at it. I don't buy a lot from ColourPop anymore. We all know I've given reasons for that as well. So the first thing was that they've just been throwing stuff out there. It willy-nilly. It just felt like release after release after release after release. Now, I understand that probably some of that was from the pandemic. So some of it was probably holdovers from, early in the pandemic when things started getting closed down. Most companies closed down their warehouses, closed down their customer service, closed things down because they wanted to keep their employees safe. So I understand that. But this just, it's not nearly as bad as ColourPop. With ColourPop, I feel like they're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks. Okay? I don't feel quite that Hip Dot has gone quite that far, but they do have things that they could have improved upon instead of throwing out new releases every time we turned around. They need deeper bronzer shades. They need more color inclusion, which is another problem for them. They do have collabs with people of color, but it just really feels not thoughtful about it, not thought through, if that makes sense. And a lot of the releases that we're getting now, just, I'm looking at them going, I'm not even interested. It just, like they have the hot sauce one out right now. I see the colors in that palette and I'm like, that doesn't really fit. I mean, I didn't see any red in there. Maybe I missed it, but yeah, it doesn't feel thought through. It doesn't feel thoughtful. It does, and right now it doesn't feel like they are trying to expand their brand to hit beyond, you know, someone just a little bit darker than me to light skinned. It's just how I'm feeling. It's my opinion, and I don't know. It could be wrong. I mean, I like I said, I haven't been following them lately because it just really felt like they were just throwing shit out there, and not nearly as bad as ColourPop, but it just really felt like they were starting to become like that. They've had several releases just a week or two apart. It was just, what are you guys doing? That's how it felt to me. And it might have been that maybe they were just trying to make sure that they had income coming in so that they could continue the company, but it really felt too much for me. So that is why Hip Dot is not on there either. I would like to see them to become more thoughtful in the releases they make. I would like to see them expand some of their shade ranges so that they can, you know, hit more on the skin tone scale here. You know, darker skin and lighter skin. Us in the middle, we're covered. Just hit everybody else, please. Anyway, so now that I have spoken way too much on things, that is it for the day, and I hope you like what you've seen. And if you like what you've seen and you're not subscribed, would you please subscribe? When you subscribe, please hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. I currently upload 2 days a week, Monday and Thursday. However, we do have bonus videos. I open indie brands on here. We are still waiting for my son's first box. There was a mix-up. Hopefully, we are getting the February box. We'll see. We'll see. And if you send anything, well, that will be uploaded as a bonus video as well. Now, no, you don't have to send me anything. And if you don't want me to do with that on here, make sure to include a note in your gift. Or you can join the Domy Tries This Facebook group, which is listed down below. And you can let me know on there that you have sent something, but you do not want to be embarrassed by me on the channel. I will honor your request. Promise. And we might be able to do our garden videos this year. Really hoping. There's a couple of things that have bumped in the way of that. I was really hoping in January. A couple of things have happened since then that have made me go, okay, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. But hopefully we'll be able to do those. Those would go up in the summer if we do. However, it is still too cold to be starting anything and thinking about anything at the moment. If you're interested in any of those, you will have to have that bell clicked because they do not go up on regular upload days. If you're part of my notification squad, please check both your bell and your subscription to make sure they're both still active. And if you choose not to subscribe, well, I guess I'd understand. However, you are always welcome back here. And when you do come back again, don't forget to bring your cup of tea. Now, y'all know that this is probably not going to be that much stronger. It's been steeping for a little bit, and it might be a little bit stronger. But the way these videos are filmed, it just doesn't get to sit for 20 or 30 minutes, although it may have actually managed to sit for 20 this time. Alrighty, gonna give her a sip, and then we will be on our way. There's the spices. You get that hit of that ginger. It hits the back of your mouth, down your throat. But it is a beautiful blend of spices. And it does seem to, it's spicy, but it's not a heat spicy. It's really nice. Again, one of my favorites. I did go a little light on the sugar, but still not bad. You should be able to find the Stash Tea in your grocery store or at stash.com. Otherwise, that's it for the day. Hope you have a good one.